On today's Minute of the Apes, we watch Sean both mess with his Fitbit and then just scream out of the blue at his little robot off in the corner. That's when you're supposed to scream at your robot, Sean. Robot! Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. I'm Todd.
Hey, Todd.
I've got Richard and Sean with me here in...
It's Wednesday.
The Zeus Annex.
Zeus Annex. It's Wednesday. New comics are out. Yay.
Yeah, it's new comic book day. That's right.
Oh, damn it. And I still haven't placed my order for this week.
Yeah.
I suck.
Get to work.
You know, I usually, that's one of my first things when I wake up on that morning. I'm like, hey, I'm going to... Not today. Not this past Sunday. Because today's Wednesday.
Yeah, you've already made
screw it.
Today's Wednesday, but we're drinking beer.
Yeah.
We are drinking beer, and that makes everything much better. Okay. You know what? We haven't done a little housekeeping in a while, and I'll say this. There are so many Movies by Minute people out there. Go check out moviesbyminute.com. I say this every time, but it is so true. They're adding movies all the time.
By the minute?
By the minute. Seriously, I'm the one that keeps up on there's a Facebook group for the people that do these, and it's like every day somebody is coming out with something new.
And if you don't see the movie you like,
start it
your
yourself.
podcast, yeah.
That's right. Okay. Sean, why don't you tell us what we got going on today?
All right, as of minute 18, we're starting with Cornelia saying a display of primitive apparatus and ends with Dr. Dixon saying he better do this alone.
This minute has a little bit of silence to it. It's a little bit of true filmmaking where we're seeing images instead of talking. So bear with it. If you hear some silence, you'll hear something. Here it comes.
A display of primitive apparatus.
Primitive? It's prehistoric.
Zira.
Test the intelligence of a newt.
Now, calm yourself.
I am calm.
Zira, stop arguing. It's too late for that. Use your heads and start thinking. Now that they know we can speak, how much will we tell them? We'll need a full autopsy.
With special emphasis on the cranial and oral areas.
Let us know when the report comes in, will you, please? I'd better do this alone.
All right, as of minute 18, we have a planet's worth of humans plus 3 apes.
So our minute here today, Richard said this in the pre-pro, if the last minute changed it, this one really kind of amps it a little bit further.
Turns the movie. It
Right.
really makes a dramatic turn.
We've set the table before of who they are, why they're there, and it's really an odd shift what's about to come because you don't see it coming, and it almost feels like, well, why did you even have
that
this
character
happening until this? It doesn't bear on a lot of emotional sense of why they did it.
Well, so. If we assume you've watched the movie.
If you're just joining us 18 minutes into the movie.
So you know what happens in this particular minute. If you are just watching this, listening to us and not having watched the movie,
right.
the ape previously introduced in last minute, Dr. Milo, bites it.
Right.
And he gets choked by that sickened, depressed gorilla from the other cage. It's not said in the minute that that's what happens. We just hear Zira cry out, Milo!
So we have Mr. Taylor actually directing in this that you've got Zira pushing a prop, Corny rushing to her, got Milo, we cut to the Milo, cut to the gorilla, and then it's just bam, it just happens. Yeah. Now, again, I tried to figure out when it was there. Number one, you've cast Sal Mineo, who was not a marquee name by any stretch of imagination, even when he was a bigger star.
And he said he was hoping this movie was going to raise his profile again.
Right.
He thought being a part of a blockbuster would actually bring his name back into that. Wow. Would you have taken a script that you know you're going to die after like 4 lines of dialogue?
Yeah. But you're also jumping into a film that no matter what, these films continue to be profitable, and you're now doing something that's unprecedented. You're making the third in a film series. Now, you would have B movies that would do that, but not B/A movies. So yeah, I think you might take that. You wanted something that would get your name back out there. You want that action figure. You want that Saturday morning cartoon.
Well, they weren't making action figures really back then.
By that time, I think they were making the
Mego
Mego
but that
dolls.
you know, They weren't like Star Wars action figures and stuff like that.
Where you were going to have one of every character.
They made the Mego dolls for Planet of the Apes. They had those.
I don't think merchandising was to the extent that it is today.
Oh, that he would have liked
that he would have said,
"Oh
yeah, I'm going to get."
But he would have seen the phenomenon. He would have seen.
I think so too.
He would have seen the phenomenon, the things that are being produced, promotional items and things like that. I mean, it's like all of the fact. It's the fact that the new 3 Star Wars films are like star casting every 5 seconds,
right?
As opposed to the original 3 being just a bunch of unknowns with 1 or 2, Alec Guinness in there.
Guinness,
right?
Yeah.
People are wanting to jump on this bandwagon to be in this movie.
I find it even odder that he would choose to do this when he's beneath all that makeup, because
you don't even know that that's the actor,
right? And unless you were a Sal Mineo fan and you had read he was going to be one of them, you wouldn't know that's him. You have no way. And so really, how is that meant to further outside of that he can go to casting agents and say, look, I was there, I showed up on time, I did my work, and I did good.
Having read a little bit of the bio in preparation for H for this actual for the series of movies, he was trying to shake the image of the young child star or the teen heartthrob,
right? And
he was actually aging as well, so he didn't necessarily look that role. So hiding behind makeup in this in a major film would have been an easy way to break out of typecasting, as well as hide the fact that you're not that young idol anymore. I mean, I know that's a weird way to think about it, but that's what I thought. He's covering himself up.
I don't think it's weird to think about it. I think that, Orson Welles turned down the role of Ursus because he said that real actors didn't wear makeup, or like kind of makeup. And now you got somebody that's a younger generation trying to get his way back in. I think there are many things probably that you prove you're not a problematic person if you show up on time, you know your stuff, you work well.
And also,
it's just sad that you show up, you put all that makeup on, and within 18 minutes,
you're gone.
Sad Sack Gorilla comes over and chokes your ass.
The man in a rug carpet comes over and kills you. Yeah.
God almighty, seriously, you've got all this Chambers makeup that's just phenomenal.
And that just looks like a nightmare. I mean, it looks like I could rent it from a costume store.
I'm pretty sure I did actually rent it the other day.
It would be interesting to know. We talked about the actor actually being known for playing gorillas in films. I'd be fascinated to know if that was actually his suit.
It might have been
personal suit.
Well, no, seriously. I mean, I assume that they would not have cheaped out on the gorilla suit in the way that they.
I'm sorry, Bob's on the set. Okay, Bob, send Bob to make up. He says no. He brings his own costume.
I bring my
That's
own
right,
gear.
bitches.
Yeah. The other thing in the last minute, we mentioned the fact that she said God. I also found it odd in this minute that she says it's prehistoric. It couldn't test the intelligence of a newt. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a really random,
that's a very random
salamander
yet
reference.
specific
Okay, I guess they have newts 2,000 years from now. But it was just the word really, God last minute and newt this minute just kind of stood out as like, those are interesting choices.
Yeah. So when Milo gets choked, I thought it was an interesting way to convey death, that they cut around to the animals outside and we hear the sounds of animals and the chaos that ensues.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I want to bring that up is there are famous moments in film history where something occurs and we cut away and don't show the violence. You can do Kill Bill where we cut somebody's head off and we see all that, but then you go to Dr. Zhivago and you have Zhivago watching the riots and whatnot, and there had been a marching band before, and famously he watches as the bass drum rolls past him, and you know this person's been ambushed and killed. This was really kind of odd to all of a sudden cut to the animals. Are the animals really going to sense everything?
Yeah, hear what's going on in a cage in a building that's not near them. Yeah, I wanted them to cut to a shot of the zoo, and then cut to a shot of New York City with pigeons flying off, and then a shot of the world slightly vibrating.
Right.
I mean, it's actually it is Dane's intention to do that. It's actually in the script.
Oh, is it in the script?
Yeah, it is in the script.
It sets a fever pitch that somehow we've really escalated the moment.
The roaring of the gorilla, the throttled cries of Milo and Zira's screams combine to launch. Various zoo shots of alarmed birds and beasts panic briefly infects the zoo. A sleeping owl opens huge eyes. Cranes cry. Mallards take off from a pool. Seals cough.
Damn.
Really?
Apes giggle. Tigers.
Oh my God.
Gibber. Tigers snarl. Lions roar.
All he's doing is naming every animal he can think of and the sound they make. Pig squeal. Dogs bark.
Elephants trumpet. We might, instead of separating each cry, overlay sound cumulatively so that each new noise is added to its predecessors as we build to a visual and oral to a massive and bestial crescendo before.
Holy shit!
Damn.
So it was intentional, even though it just feels like a random montage of like animals reacting.
Here's all our stock footage of animals reacting.
I get what he's trying to do poetically in terms of having the animals react.
And I think it's a nice choice. I think anytime, and going back to the Zhivago thing, I think anytime you do something where you have established a visual motif and come back and pay that off in a different way, we know we're in a zoo. It's been there. This escalates. And then the animal's reaction is our own grief for this character we barely know.
The primal nature of murder and what's happening. I think that the difficulty with the montage, the cutscenes that are happening, is the fact that using modern technology and techniques and shots, it wouldn't look like just cutscenes thrown together that are just similar, where the lighting's different each time and the camera's slightly off in one because they needed to angle on an animal. It just looks cut.
It looks like stock footage.
Yeah. It doesn't look like
footage.
they actually shot it as a part of the movie. The thing that, to go back for just a second, that I wanted to mention, one of the reasons I feel like this moment is that Milo's death is somewhat ineffective, in the way that it's primarily been the way that it's staged, because Dr. Milo is delivering his lines, "Use your heads and start thinking. Now that they know we can speak, how much shall we tell them?" 2 seconds before we actually saw the depressed ape get up, gorilla, and kind of move around because he's hearing everybody agitated. He's getting agitated. Right. But we have Milo delivering his line on one side of the cage, and then we actually physically have him walk into the danger to get killed.
Yeah, right.
We have him physically walk to that moment. It would have been, to me, more intense, and it's kind of in the script this way, actually, the way that it's supposed to be shot, is that we see Milo juxtaposed with the gorilla behind him getting angry, and the gorilla comes through and grabs Milo and chokes him from there. The walk over to the death, I thought, kind of muted the impact.
I found it odd that you didn't do the typical thing where maybe Milo, with his disdain for gorillas, has had moments where he's like speaking down even to the gorilla. Gorilla, shut up, you stupid gorilla. Do it 2 or 3 times, and then I said stop, and that does something that would pull it over. It just it felt like, hey, we've got to remove Milo from the scene, so this is about Coronation Zero. It just feels very forced.
You're talking about just the overall death of Milo here suddenly, or the way that the scene is shot? Because I'm talking specifically how it's shot. Yes,
on both. Okay. Because I think that to your point, he conveniently walks where he needs to go. Right. There's no provocation for the scene whatsoever. He needed to have interaction with the gorilla where, and that's very easy if he'd thrown in, stop it, speaking down.
But it felt like
if he was talking to Cornelius and Zira and we're looking at him and we see the gorilla behind him getting agitated and he makes motions to the gorilla, just something that says, use your heads and start thinking, now that they know that we can speak, and he moves to the gorilla like the gorilla doesn't know, just something to provoke the gorilla besides just hostile language.
But it just feels like an actor trying to find his mark.
Yeah, it does.
I have to get to this position so I can die.
It's the first moment in the film where I actually felt like it was a little bit of remedial direction. And it's been very. You go back to what Richard talked about with the banana. It's a great shot of overhead as we put all the characters there and we see the banana descend. We know what's going on. That works beautifully. This is simply lazy.
And also, with the cutting away from the killing of Milo, you don't get to see that. What did Zira and Cornelius do? Were they in shock? Were they trying to help? Because
it's a weird choice.
I'm assuming that
I would have tried to prime him. I would have run over there to try and prime him.
By the way it was cut, it makes me feel like the gorilla killed them, it killed Milo, and they just sat there and watched instead of helping. That's how it feels to me. Because they cut away, I have no idea what they did.
We cut to the montage of the animals outside. Mm-hmm. We then come back to Cornelius and cradling Zira close together while she has a horrified look on his face. And then you're right. At 32 seconds, it cuts to Milo being taken on a stretcher by 3 zookeepers.
Yeah.
Which I found to be an odd choice, too.
I honestly wasn't even 100% sure that he was dead yet. Like, I get, all right.
Right.
Yeah, I thought maybe he was injured and they're taking him. No, they just killed him.
So I find that odd for a couple of reasons. They put him on a stretcher, which I found to be, wouldn't that be
very
reserved
human,
for humans?
Yeah.
I think you could now. Did they have body bags back then? I mean, true
Well, yeah.
body bags. Did we do body bags at that time? Or
they
were they put a tarp over him or something? Anything that would have said he's in a bag or there is something over him,
Yeah.
would have conveyed immediately to us
That he's
we knew he was
dead.
dead. I thought the same thing. I was like, this is